Our next speaker is Cory Brown. He's a U.S. Army veteran and the creator and host of Eat Your Feelings, a cooking and storytelling show that brings people together around food and honest conversation. After more than 16 years in the military, including a deployment to Iraq with a cavalry unit, Cory discovered that some of the most meaningful conversations happen around the kitchen table. Through his work, he uses cooking, humor, and storytelling to explore resilience, purpose, and connection. Please welcome to the stage, Cory Brown.
Thank you, Sean. Thanks, everybody. This is about like my last stand-up set, so I'm very comfortable. I like that. I like that. So yeah, I'm Cory Brown, creator of Eat Your Feelings. We do food, man. That's what we do. We use food. Watch the episode. You can make it yourself. I cry a lot these days, and it feels weird. It still feels weird. I think because I'm like, somebody earlier was talking about that Gen X generation, right? Where, you know, you can't be doing all that silly stuff now. What are you doing? I find myself crying at the weirdest things. You remember when Spider-Man, not the new Spider-Man, but like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man was on the train and stopping the train, and then he ran out of all his energy, and everybody like picked him up, and oh my, I'd lose it. That old Superman movie where he flies up into space and then he falls back down. That's gonna tear me. I can tell some people in this crowd know Lonesome Dove, right? That scene, that whole set of scenes where Gus gets the arrow in his leg and they have to take the leg away, and then Carl's got to take him back to Texas. Oh my gosh. Tears just flowing. Making this sandwich right here. I call that the Nana breakfast sandwich. And I might start crying right now because of what it means to me comes from my Nana, who is the whole reason I probably like cooking in the first place. That woman was like a magician. She would just wave her hand over the stove and food would magically appear that would make everybody feel so much better. You know, those family gatherings where food was what was bringing us together. And that was making things okay. You know, no matter what was happening before or what would be happening after, in that moment where you have that food and you have that family and you have that connection, you feel okay, you know? And she was just a wizard at that sort of thing. But yeah, I learned to look at crying as my true self, feeling what I should be feeling because I'm a dadgum human. And on our show, it's very emotional. You know, like we'll be cooking something and then we'll be crying over it, you know, because it elicits some sort of memory, some sort of moment where it felt like everything was okay in the world. All the troubles could be put aside for a little while you ate that fried chicken and the fried okra and the fried water. You know what I mean? Like it was just beautiful. That's interesting. So we'll make sure I wasn't going to get us shot up in here real quick. So I look at what we've done in kind of three hooks, three things that have really brought it together. And if you're a fan of alliteration, you're going to love this. The first one's hunger. And yeah, that's the first time we ever baked anything. That's the first time we ever made anything sweet, and it turned out like that. I was pretty happy. It was painful though. I kill yeast like it's going out of style. You know, like I cannot do stuff with yeast. Thankfully, our producer Tracy was able to make the yeast do whatever yeast does. But what I've learned from this is I just need to use instant yeast. Like don't play with the real stuff. But for us, hunger is quite literally hunger due to food. I noticed that when we post something, nice to see you. When we post something, it's like with the food as the thumbnail or as the highlight, people are going to stop. We get our most, you know, highest numbers on things when the food is like the center of what we're posting about. And so that hunger, though, it's also metaphorical. Just like the table, the concept of the table. You have to find that thing that you're hungry about. Because that's what's going to make the people that are also hungry about it want to watch it. want to check it out, want to engage with it. And for us, we had to really anchor in on something that was real. And I've been a fan of cooking for almost my entire life, and I love cooking shows. And the whole reason I ever got into YouTube in the first place was because I wanted to watch cooking shows. I dressed up as Maddie Matheson for Halloween, and just in case you would love to see that. Who watches The Bear? Anybody? Okay, well, you should. So put that on your to-do list. But the man, his story is incredible, and I found out about him from The Bear, but then I really wanted to find out about him because he's a real chef, and so I'd watch his cooking videos, and I liked his vibe, and I liked his energy. And he was hungry to have a better life himself. You know, he had a lot of problems with drugs and drinking, and he got sober, and it not only saved his life, but it saved his marriage, and he turned everything around, and, you know, now he's on a hit TV show. He owns a clothing company, several restaurants. He's got his stuff together, you know, and that was inspiring to me. And so when it came time to think about, like, well, what am I hungry about? If I want to talk about mental health, if I want to talk about resiliency, if I want to talk about all those hard moments in life, if I want to bring on guests to tell their stories about those moments, what's going to be something, though, that people can attach, like, what are they going to be hungry about? And it was clear to me, I love cooking shows, I'm going to do a cooking show. So you got to look at yourself as a creator and say, like, well, what am I hungry about? Because you have to be hungry about the thing that you're putting out in the world. If you want other people to be hungry about it, then you better be hungry about it. So look at it, like you can be hungry about whatever it is you like. Just make sure that's what you're building something around. The next little hook for us was humor. Look, I'm the less funny one. I know, I'm sorry. Sam couldn't be here. He's definitely the more funny. I'm the more handsome, he's the more funny. But with humor, it's also natural for us. We've known each other for more than 10 years. We've been doing the show for less than a year, but it's all that history that we have with each other, all that shared, the things that we have in common. We actually grew up in towns right next to each other in Alabama, but we didn't meet till we got to D.C. We call it our D.C. love story. We were on a panel in D.C. He found out I was from Alabaster, Alabama. I found out he was from Montebello, Alabama, right next to each other. You know, we played the whole game. We're like, oh, so you know, like we did all that, and like that created a bond right there in the moment, and we've had that, and every time we're together, and this is what led me to think about it, I didn't want to do this alone. I wanted to do it with somebody. And we've heard a lot of people talking today about, like, you're never alone. If it's like my friend who owns the production agency that said, let me film the first four episodes for you. That's what I'll give you. I love you. Let me do this for you. He also told me that I needed to quit talking about stuff and do it. So that was incredibly helpful for my journey. But with Sammy, you know, we don't have to fake our chemistry. I don't have to write it out and script it out. You know, we don't have to sit there and like workshop it. We literally just be ourselves. And I think that's what makes a lot of the people get appealed to the show, is they can see that, they can feel that. Anytime you're faking, they'll know that, right? But that's part of the thing. It's like being ourselves is part of the draw. Cooking is part of the draw. If my goal is I need people to have an easier way to talk about hard things, I need people to have an easier way to have something that'll make them feel good that day, maybe. Like success for me, can we make somebody's day better? Success for us, if somebody's really struggling, can we say, hang on for one more day, man? Just give us one more day. And then there's the humanity. You like that alliteration? And look, if y'all think this is like some big thing that I created when we created the show, and no, I came up with this 2 weeks ago when I knew I was going to be talking. But it works, and it showed me something. I learned something from that. The humanity aspect People have talked here about the vanity metrics and like how other conferences want you to have so many followers, or when you go to talk to sponsors, they're like, tell me how many impressions you got, how many followers do you have, how many likes, engagements, and all that stuff. And while all of that is important because of our industry, the thing that I'm doing it for is for the humans, the human beings like me, who are out there trying to live their lives. And we already live in a world that tries to strip of us of our humanity. We're already all in an industry that tries to strip us of our humanity. They try to make us focus on all the wrong things. And they try to tell you, like, to get ahead, you got to focus on all these wrong things. And that's fine. Like, that's the game. I get it. But I feel like, and I have to pull myself back a lot of times. I'm always constantly, consistently trying to remind myself of why I'm doing this. And everybody that's associated with our show, they've come into it with some sort of trauma, whether it's our producer Tracy and her dad dying by suicide. He was a Vietnam vet. Whether it's Sam and his mom dying in a car crash unexpectedly. Whether it's me and having numerous friends die by suicide, not being able to help them during their struggle. Like, we've all come to this show and this movement that we're trying to do from that sort of human experience level, not the metrics and not the numbers. They're all important and we pay attention to them, but we also have to remind each other that that's not why we're doing it. And so we keep humanity as a core. All the guests we come on, that we bring on. You know, people probably know Ryan, you know, and her brother Travis died in Iraq in 2007. And since then, her family has dedicated themselves to trying to keep his memory alive and trying to build a sense of community among not just veterans, but everybody. And so those stories are important. And we try to get people that want to tell those stories. And we have plenty of our own stories. And that's what it becomes. It's the combination of the storytelling and the authenticity. You have to have both. You can't pick one or the other. And that's something I feel like that's making our show kind of catch on, right? So all the people that are choosing to subscribe to our channel or like some of our posts, you know, that's what I feel like they're connecting with. The comments that we get back, some of the emails that we get, they're all about like, hey, you know, I was having a bad day and I saw your stuff and it made me want to go make some beef bourguignon, you know? Or like, I'm really glad I found this today. I needed it. And that's what I kind of remind myself of, like, that's why I'm doing this. And having that mission forward, purpose driven attitude helps me, I think, create the kind of content that I need to be creating. So the credibility gets you in the room, right? Whether it's a guest you might have on or the show itself having a high production value. Like, I wanted it to look and feel like it deserved to be there as a cooking show against all the other cooking shows you might watch. Those things were important to me. But it's the authenticity that I feel like we bring across that people, that's what they, you know, like, yeah, they see a good shot of the food, you know, they see us doing something goofy or silly, but then maybe they stay to hear Ryan's story, right? Or maybe they stay to hear about how impactful my Nana was in my life, you know? And that's kind of the reason why we're doing it. I've thought long and hard about quitting several times. And we haven't even we've been doing this for a little less than a year. And I think all of us go through that journey of we're like, why am I doing? Like, what is disappointment? There's lots of negativity sometimes in the comments, like, look, dude, I don't need you to tell me I'm fat. I see myself every day, you know? I get it. There's plenty of times when you look at those view numbers, you're like, how do I have thousands of subscribers, but only 200 people watch this video, you know? Like, all that stuff matters to me, even when it shouldn't. And thankfully, I have a team of people close to me that can also help remind me, like, well, look what you've done, man. Like, let's read these comments instead, right? You know, you've been able to in less than a year, you've been able to have these amazing experiences. You've been able to go to places like this and meet exceptional, outstanding people. You know, I've been able to be on podcasts. Thank you, Adam. Adam was our first podcast as Eat Your Feelings. Thank you. You know, we got to meet Jocko. Hopefully he's going to be the one that helps us get our cookbook out there, you know. And these are all things that have happened because of the little bit of effort that we're trying to bring to the table. Sometimes you have to be shameless as well, right? So when I'm thinking about like humanity, like every conversation, and you probably all have felt it. You get those emails, you can tell like, you probably sent this same email to 10,000 people. So mixing the shameless with the authenticity. If I wouldn't have reached out to Ryan Mannion about being a guest on the show, I didn't know who she was. She didn't know who I was. We appealed to her as what we were trying to do with our mission, and I wrote it out. It wasn't a form email or anything like that. She responded. There's a guy who had no business talking to us. He's not even a veteran. He's just a dude that makes videos that I really liked. I was like, I want to reach out to that guy. And I reached out to him. I wrote the same thing. I told him what we're doing, what our story was. He wrote back the same day and was like, dude, you got to come up here and we got to do something together. And those are only happening because we get out there and we're shameless in a good way about trying to connect with people and ask them to help us and to work with us and to do things. And it's amazing, like for sure, there's plenty of people that don't ever respond to emails or don't do it, but the ones that do will end up making it all worthwhile because you get to have some really cool experiences, you know? And I sent this video to Sam Al-Khatib, who is a creator that has like 10 million followers, and all he does is he sits around his table and he does little skits where he's different characters, and some of his stuff has been really meaningful to me, you know, and I just told him that. I was like, here's what we're doing. You think we can figure out a way to do something together? Yeah. And I have to constantly tell Sammy, I'm like, man, if we don't do this, then we're not going to get these experiences, you know? That's right. You know? That's really all I got. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you. Yeah. Who's the better cook? So I'm a recipe guy. Sam cooks from the heart.
Sam's a better cook.
It's a team effort, Adam. That's what I'm saying. It's a team effort.
Do you rent a facility or do you?
That's a great question. Not knowing anything about anything, there's no kitchen studios in DC, at least that I could find, you know. So we did a lot of location scouting, actually, Airbnbs. And our producer found one that just had the perfect kitchen for this sort of thing. And my buddy, who's the production agency guy, he was like, yeah, that's the one. So we've had 2 different filming sessions, and we've done both of them at that Airbnb. And it was so cool. The first time I ever walked into it, I kind of got there before everybody else, you know. And it was just an Airbnb, it was just a kitchen, nothing was going on. Then the crew started showing up, right? And I can remember just sitting there watching all this stuff happen. And it had been years inside of myself where I couldn't put words to the feelings of like what was going to be this show. I just knew I wanted to do something. I had to do something. And so it had taken years for me to get to a place where I could actually even give it an identity. And I'm sitting there watching the crew put all the cameras up and all the lights and everything like to make it a cooking show set. And it was a lot. It was overwhelming, you know, thinking about how real it had become. Even writing scripts, writing shot sheets, writing, you know, themes, all that stuff that I had done, you know, thinking through a business plan, you know, thinking about how to, all that paled in comparison to actually being in that house, watching this set come together, and then thinking like, tomorrow morning we get to do this, finally, you know. It was an amazing feeling.
Do you know who Chef Rush is?
Chef Rush. Is that the big fellow with the, yeah,
Andre Rush.
yeah.
You said about a cookbook. Probably check with him.
Yeah, yeah, he's on our target list. We've got a place out in Haymarket called the Willing Warriors. It's the Warrior Retreat in Haymarket, and what they've done is they've got these houses, and they'll bring in wounded warriors, and they'll bring in their like up to 12 of their family members, and they'll basically pamper them for a week out at this beautiful place in the foothills of the Shenandoah, right? And they have a culinary arts program. And the chef there has become a good friend of ours. And they have a lot of, they'll have White House visiting chefs come and cook meals for these families. And he's talked to us about Chef Rush. And there's Robert Irvine and his foundation. You know, it's amazing to me, having gotten into this now, how many people are using cooking as a form of therapy. Right, and using cooking as a way to create engagement, because like these tables, I love this room because of this reason. Like literally, you have the kitchen table, but metaphorically you're trying to arrange tables for people to come to, you know, and like just come. And Ryan said something that still impacts us today. She said she's discovered by serving others, she heals herself, and that we feel that in what we're doing all the time, and it's just that's keeps the drive going. Anybody else?
When you have a guest on like Ryan, do you cook something that they want to cook, or do you cook something that you sort of like thought that they would like? And what did you cook when Ryan was on the show?
Yeah, we do try to tell. I want them to come to the table, no pun intended. Like, tell me something from your childhood that means something to you. Like, what's your, you know, like, let's cook something that has affected your life in some way. You know, so when we're by ourselves and we don't have a guest, a lot of times we're cooking things from mine or Sam's, you know, family history or whatever. His dad owned a little barbecue trailer, and so like we've cooked some stuff from that era, you know. And I've cooked some stuff like that breakfast sandwich was emblematic of Nana's breakfast. I basically just put it on a biscuit and put some gravy over top of it. But yeah, like we'll ask them. And Ryan, you know, she's from Pennsylvania. So we cooked a chicken pot pie, you know. But yeah, the guests come on and they bring in, and it's caused us to have some very interesting episodes, because like some stuff I'm like, I've never touched, you know, Mediterranean, or I've never, you know, it's been very interesting. Yeah, it's good. It's a good idea. Like it helps also tell the story that they want to tell. So, all right. Well, thank you very much. Yeah.